Okay, so Thomas Troward. Why do we study Thomas Troward? Because he's actually Ernest Holmes' major influence. It really goes like this. Phineas Quimby, Thomas Troward knew Phineas Quimby. So it's Phineas Quimby, Thomas Troward, and then Thomas Troward, Ernest Holmes. So that's kind of the way that goes. And then James Mellon. So it's Phineas Quimby, Thomas Troward, Ernest Holmes, James Mellon. So a little history about Thomas Troward. He was born to British parents in Sri Lanka in 1847. So he's born in 1847 and was English, but lived in Sri Lanka. Now, he was educated in England because at that time, if you were English, wherever you lived, it was customary to send your child back to England to be taught. So he went back to England, and at 18, he graduated with gold medal honors in literature and then entered law school. So Thomas Troward was a lawyer at first, and he became a lawyer in 1865. In 1869, he went back to India as Her Majesty's Assistant Commissioner and then a divisional judge for the Punjab in northern India. So he was a very prominent figure, very smart man, and very intellectual and very logical. It had to make sense to him, which is why I love him so much. He wasn't one of those people that just let things in the la-la land realm and just go, oh, that's cool, okay. No, if it didn't make sense, he argued the crap out of it like most attorneys would, which is why I think I think Ernest Holmes uses this whole concept of you are the lawyer in your mind arguing for the truth. That's what you do in treatment. You're arguing for the truth constantly. So he's a judge now in India. He retired in 1896 at the age of 49 and returned to England, where he started studying what he always wanted to study. Because he didn't really, if he had his druthers, he'd have been a minister, a metaphysician. But he followed where he was supposed to go and became a lawyer and then a judge, did everything he was supposed to do. When he retired, he went and started studying metaphysics at a place called the Higher Thought Center in London. Now, fascinating, this was a place in London at the time which was the bedrock of New Thought. Because what the Higher Thought Center of London taught were the teachings of Phineas Quimby. Anybody here not know who Phineas Quimby is? Okay, so Phineas Quimby, we call him the father of New Thought. He studied with a man named Anton Mesmer. Do you all know who that is? Just think of the word, mesmer. He was the father of hospitality. He was the father of hypnosis. And he was probably very hospitable. So hypnosis came from Anton Mesmer, mesmerize. And Phineas Quimby, and I did this in Beyond Limits too. Phineas Quimby said, if we can get to the subjective side of our mind and put it in a receptive state and allow it to respond from what we've impressed into it, then that's a part of our mind that we should be able to use for our good. That's the part of our mind we should be able to use to create what we want out of life. And mostly for Phineas Quimby, that's the part of our mind we can use to heal our bodies. Because if we can impress our mind that we are not sick, it will tell our body we're not sick and the body will heal. Which is when New Thought healing started way back then with Phineas Quimby. Mary Baker Eddy studied with Phineas Quimby, actually came to him with a debilitating disease, and he healed her. She then went back to Boston, pretended she didn't learn all of that from him, and wrote her own book called Science and Health. And basically said, and there was this big fight between the Quimbyites and Mary Baker Eddy, Christian Science, where literally they were like in court fighting over the fact that all she did was rewrote the Quimby manuscripts. But didn't matter. Christian Science was very, very successful until Mary Baker Eddy decided to close it at the top and said, this is the truth, the only truth, so help me God. And that was it. And she said, we don't have ministers, we don't do anything. We just read this. You read the book I wrote for the rest of time and all eternity. There's nothing else to know. Which is why Christian Science is pretty much a dead religion at this point. I mean, the one on my corner, gorgeous big church, has like 8 people there on a Saturday, but they have a lot of money still left over from their heyday. But Ernest Holmes came along, studied with studied with Mary Baker Eddy, Emma Curtis Hopkins. All of them studied Christian Science. And that's why they all went off and created their own religions: religious science, divine science, unity. They all went off and created something new because they knew there was more. But I digress. Back to Troward. So Troward studied, after he retired, he studied hypnotism. He was fascinated with hypnotism and what it would do. And he experimented with hypnotism to see what it really did to the subjective mind. To see, how does hypnotism, what does it really do? Can I really get into the inside of my mind and tell it what to do? And so he was a part of a lot of experimentation. And his theory that he started writing about was that, bless you, that the individual consciousness, and just see where you can start seeing signs of mind here. His major theory, his major contribution to the New Thought movement was this. He said that individual consciousness was part and was sharing this thing called universal consciousness, or as Ralph Waldo Emerson called it, the oversoul. Right. Don't all say it at once. So individual consciousness, Troward is saying, is part of universal consciousness, which means now we can actually go to that beautiful Rumi poem. In other words, the drop is the ocean. And so everything that the ocean can do, the drop can do. Everything universal mind can do, individual mind can do. And so Troward was really at the forefront of saying, I am God, in a very, covered way back then. So he said, subject mind is that aspect of mind that is responsive to what conscious mind impresses upon it. So in 1904, he decided to give a series of lectures called the Edinburgh Lectures, which is another course that we teach, but I chose this one this time. So he did this thing called the Edinburgh Lectures on Mental Science. Honey, somebody is not muted. They are all muted. It's me.
Oh, are you shooting back?
No, I'm not. Yeah, that's what it is. So how many of you know who William James is? Great. Okay. This side of the room. That's so funny. William James was a psychologist and a metaphysician. And some people call him like the father of psychiatry. So William James in America gets a hold of the books, the Edinburgh Lectures that Thomas Troward did in England. And he writes this. This is the quote. Far and away, the ablest statement of philosophy I have met. Beautiful in its sustained clearness of thought and style, a really classic statement. So as soon as Thomas Troward stepped onto the scene and started writing about the subjective mind, everybody just glommed together. In 1910, he then published this book, which was the sequel to The Creative Process and the sequel to the Edinburgh Lectures. Now, this book that you're looking at, and you're going to laugh when you start reading it when I tell you what it was considered a how-to book. Anybody read this yet? Have you read any of it yet? Yeah. Could you imagine this being considered a how-to book? So this was considered a how-to book based on his Edinburgh Lectures, because this was explaining how to use what he said in the Edinburgh Lectures. Because he wanted this book to be about the individual, not just the science, not what it's all about, but how do I use it? How does the individual use this stuff? And it focused on the individual use of the law. So he ended up becoming the president of the Higher Thought Center in England. And then he was the first vice president of a group that we are now a part of called the International New Thought Alliance, INTA, which is very vibrant now. Michael Beckwith is a member. Our center is a member. The number of the Unity churches are members of this alliance. And it began in 1950 with Thomas Troward. He was one of the founders of that organization. It's called International New Thought Alliance, INTA. So Ernest Holmes credits Judge Thomas Troward as the basis for his book, The Science of Mind and Spirit. Any questions of anything I said so far? I know that's a lot of history. I don't usually have to go. Yes, you have a lot of questions that you're saying. I don't usually go into like lecture mode on historical facts, and I can see your faces a little bit like, what? Yes.
What happened to Mesmer
In the movie?
The movement.
I thought you said, what happened to Mesmer in the movie? Well, I saw that movie. I actually directed a play on Anton Mesmer, so I know a lot from theater. Anton Mesmer, unfortunately, was a little bit of a womanizer. And so he found that being able to hypnotize women was he was the Bill Cosby of our day, of that day apparently. He found that he got caught in a lot of scandal with women, and it unfortunately undermined a lot of what he was doing. He ended up having to move out of Paris, and I think he went, and I forget where he ended up living, but he kind of petered away, so to speak.
But isn't the whole concept of hypnosis
It's all based on
right tied in with affirmative prayer?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
When I do a very quick, here's the history of our teaching. Anton Mesmer discovered a system of getting to the subconscious mind, the subjective mind, subconscious mind. Phineas Quimby came along and said, if we can do that, then we should be telling ourselves that we're healthy. Emma Curtis Hopkins came along and said, if you can redden your face with your mind, you can straighten a cracked bone with your mind. It's that powerful. Ernest Holmes came along and basically said, it is done unto you as you believe. Jesus got it right years ago. So when you go from, because the belief is what's stepping into our subjective mind. And basically we've grown from there. So yeah, it all started. We really do trace it back. I think because of his womanizing, we trace it back to Phineas Quimby, and we kind of stay away from the prequel. Okay, so I want to break you into groups. Now, here's how we do this when we do our experiential moments. Don't sit with people you know. I know you all know each other now, somewhat, but just try to find two people that you're not that close to. Just get up, walk around the room, get into your threes. I don't know how many. They all have to do it together online, which is fine. So I'm going to give you a statement, and I'm going to give you all like 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes, since there's 3 of you, to talk this sentence out, and choose which one of you is going to share what went on. Okay? So it's this. Ready? Within my life, how conscious am I of my beliefs, thoughts, feelings, and emotions? Within my life, how conscious am I of my beliefs, my thoughts, my feelings, my emotions? Let that sentence take you into a dialogue. Since you're getting 10 minutes, allow each person to speak for a couple minutes before you start chatting about what was said. Yes, Eric?
Can you distinguish between feelings and emotions?
Yes. I'll do it to you this way. Your beliefs create the way you think, your thoughts. I believe this, so I think this way. When I think this way, it makes me feel like this. When I feel like this, I let my emotions show. Emotions are the active forward momentum from the feelings. Emotions. I emote my feelings. So I believe this, I think this way. Because I think this way, I feel like this. And when I feel like this, I act like this.
The emotions is the acting on the feeling?
Yeah, the motion, emoting, allowing it out, letting the feelings out. When I'm angry, I'm letting my feelings out.
So if you just feel it, but you're not expressing it to others, and it's just within you, does that mean?
And then are you conscious of that? Because the question is, how conscious of you are that you don't allow your emotions out?
I'm just not sure the difference between a feeling and emotion.
A feeling is what you feel inside. Emotions are what you let out.
Okay.
For instance, let's say you're keeping it in, your feelings, but then you start crying. The very activity of crying is your emotions based on the feelings. This is how I feel, and now I feel this way, and this is the result of it. My emotions are the results of my feelings. A lot of people don't really get the distinction of those two, and they think, I'm just feeling what I'm feeling. No, you're actually letting it out. This is what you're doing with your feelings. And most of them don't even know that their feelings are coming from the way they think, and that the way they think is coming from what they believe. So what's really running the show? Your beliefs. Okay? So, 8:15, got 10 minutes. Have at it. Any other questions first? Okay. 3, find 2 other people. Online people, what? Yeah, they can chat. No, they should chat.
Jeff, how are you? Yes.
I'll defend myself.
Thank you for yeah.
You're pretty good.
Hang out with you guys.
And you can sit on the floor with your legs crossed. You got Anthony. Anthony, just come sit with them.
Hello?
Is this mic open?
Yes.
I can hear you, Ray.
Oh, okay. I don't know how this, I've never worked with this software before, so
Yeah, me neither.
and I'm glad to see this might not be a typing exercise.
Oh, good. So can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you. Who am I
Okay.
speaking with?
This is Mariana.
Okay, Mariana. I don't see a picture here, so.
Right. And Ellen, can you hear me?
I can.
Hey guys online, you can all talk to each other. I have you muted in the room, so go ahead and just have a conversation with one another.
Okay.
Good, that's better.
Okay.
Okay. So is it just us three?
I don't know. There should be a couple other here.
Yeah, other people are probably still muted.
Okay. Well,
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah.
Myrna, I can hear you now.
Oh, perfect. Okay, I didn't know I could unmute myself.
Yeah, I just figured it out myself.
Joseph, do you want to unmute yourself and join the there you are.
Mhm.
See,
Hello.
who are we missing? And Terry, you're the only one who's still muted.
So,
Okay. So how many of us are there then?
We're supposed to be 7.
Okay.
7. Yep.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Yes.
Perfect.
So the question is, within my life, how conscious am I of my beliefs?
So this is Terry. So what I typed or started to type was most of the time I'm very conscious of my beliefs, but what happens when I lose my faith or get scared or in fear, I let it all go and forget it exists. And that's the thing I really want to work on.
so I'm wondering if I'm conscious of my beliefs or the actions that result from the belief.
Yeah. Hi, Ray. This is Ellen. I agree with you. I guess maybe I'm in resonate with what you just said, because what we're demonstrating is the visible, where the belief is the invisible. And I know for me, I don't become conscious of the belief sometimes until I've either demonstrated something that I want, or usually it's when I don't want.
Yeah.
And then I have to go back and say, okay, what's the thought or belief behind this?
So the belief is manifest in the subjective mind. So it's not something that we can objectively perceive, and we can only objectively perceive the condition or the form that is manifested.
Well, the form's a reflection of the belief. So if you look at the form, you can usually back it up into the belief, right?
Yes.
So, yeah. So it's just you're seeing the reflection of the belief.
Yes.
Don't necessarily have to be clear all the time on what it is that we're feeling or thinking or where they come from, but aware and conscious of them is sometimes enough in the times and in the moments of where we
Just being conscious is enough.
conscious, even if, sometimes that's what we have, and especially when there's a lot of turmoil going on and there's a lot of feeling out of control or spiraling, that just being able to be aware that, you know what, right now I'm angry, or right now I'm feeling frustrated, and just being conscious of it and allowing it to be, and then being able to work on, okay, what's the belief that's coming from, and then where are my emotions? So I think that was something that was kind of collective between us.
Okay, good. Your group?
Our group talked about that the three of us were pretty much aware and conscious.
For me, I think
emotions and
I'm more
it came right down to that.
aware of my beliefs, especially since I'm
beliefs can be changed.
Involved in the practitioner training, but similar to what Ray said,
Some of us were
I find that when I get into the overwhelm or the fear, sometimes
those old beliefs pop up again, and
I'm not conscious of the belief until after the fact. And then I kind of realize,
Doug and Eric,
oh, I did this because I
much
was in overwhelm or
aware of
because
our
it
thoughts
wasn't
weren't
fear.
necessarily positive or productive.
Exactly.
Feelings and emotions are still a little fuzzy, but we're clear on that. We all three of us agreed, or at least shared, that we're
Joseph, why don't you share for the group?
knowing, being conscious of what our beliefs are, aware that there might be unconscious beliefs.
Hello.
Sounds good.
Not so aware of your unconscious beliefs. Is that what you're saying? Yeah. Okay, great. You guys?
The consensus is pretty much finding the core beliefs. It's quite challenging. The first challenge being to even know that there are such things as core beliefs, and then to do the process of digging into them and seeing how the core beliefs ultimately result in what it is you're doing, what decisions you're making, how you're feeling about those decisions, how you're feeling about yourself. And that was the challenge. That was.
Did you all feel that you're conscious of these things, though?
Yes, the consensus with everybody's
Yeah.
conscious. of
Okay.
the core
Okay. Great. Eric. Other Eric too. Yeah, there's two Erics. None of them want to speak. Alan.
We decided that just to be conscious of what you're feeling and your emotions, and to be conscious when, like we were saying, the three of us were having some sort of challenges, and to be conscious during that time and deal from it from a knowing.
Okay. Before I continue, since it's come up a number of times now, so the whole point of studying this teaching, there's a part of it that's a little annoying. Once you know it, you can't pretend you don't know it. So that's the little bit of an annoying part of this. Conscious living means that you are conscious of what's going on. But it goes well beyond just being aware of what's happening. It's that you now know the way things are happening and that they're happening for a reason and because of something. And so this whole 10 weeks that we're going to take this journey is all about being willing to be conscious at a subjective level, not just from a conscious level of I'm aware of this, this, and this, just to be clear. So I love what I'm hearing. Yes, I am aware when I get angry. But if I don't take the time to say, where is that coming from, then I'm missing out on this science. Because that's what this science can teach us. That's what this philosophy teaches us. I don't just arbitrarily land at annoying. I don't just land at grumpy. Some belief about Christmas, apparently, some belief brings me to that. Or why do I get sick? Why do I get a cold in February? You know, I don't get a cold in February, but why does one get a cold? You hear people say it all the time. Oh, I always get the cold and so it is. And next year I'll see it again, right? So that's what we're really looking for. Okay, so who's up still? Who hasn't shared? Is that you, Brooks? Jeffrey?
I think we all just want to dig a little deeper into our beliefs, is what I felt. Is what was our common bond. I think we all know what they are, and they all kind of change and slip away. And it's time for that was our common bond. Is to that we want to reinforce our beliefs and learn more.
How conscious do you feel?
I think we all sort of slipped a little bit. I think we all believe that we're conscious, but not right now as conscious. Right?
I like that.
Not right
We
now
know we're
as-
conscious, just not right now. We're waiting for the bus, but not on it. That's perfect. Waiting for the bus, but not on it. Okay, is that everybody in this room? Sandy? Gary, are you speaking? Lynn, who's speaking for you three? Sandy? Hit it.
Well, I think we're conscious of everything is in that we've been in the teaching and studying it, but for the three of us, it seems like it's definitely easier to feel the feelings and sometimes express them, sometimes not amongst us. Like I know for me, it's easier to express them. For some of us, it wasn't. But then to remember in that moment to track it back to the feelings. It's almost like the order you said they go in from belief to thinking and feeling to emotions. You got to track it back.
Yes, it's all about
To there.
it's
To
all
remember to
about
do that when the stuff is going on.
back up into the belief. Yeah, and it's amazing. The process of backing into the belief, by the time you hit the belief, the emotions are gone, the feelings are pretty much gone, and now you're kind of in an impersonal place, which is where you need to be to actually see it. One of the things that happened in CPR last week was when I finally realized, I said it on Sunday, that I had a belief that I had to get sick to take a day off. And I was like, oh my God. And when it happened too, I could feel my whole body go, and now you can stop being sick. You know, and it's been little bits hanging on, and I'm like, whatever, you know, and if I need to take a day off, I will. But it was very interesting backing into that. Okay, anyone want to speak for online?
You have to unmute yourself, so.
Who wants to speak for online? Anyone? Ellen? Since I see you? No? Well, thank you.
And you can't make it.
So online does not want to be present tonight. I mean, visible, vocal. Okay, I'm good with that. We'll keep going. We'll keep going. Okay, so now I'm going to move into the book. Any questions about what you all were just talking about?
I think we're all conscious about how conscious or not conscious we are.
Or have you been rendered unconscious at this point? So yes, Sean.
This relates to what you were saying last week about treatment, just affirmative treatment that's not argumentative, that doesn't involve denial.
So it's called realization treatment.
Realization treatment.
Two types of treatment: realization, argumentative. Realization is I've turned entirely away from Connie. You have to mute the TV. No, the TV. There you go. I've turned entirely away from the condition. I only know the truth. Argumentative, I've brought the condition in and I'm going to argue the shit out of it, to put it in a very clinical term. Sean.
Okay, so what happens if you have beliefs that you can't quite pinpoint this exactly what
Source?
the source? You came to the realization about getting a cold.
Yeah.
So what if you don't have that? And is it just as effective to say, okay, I know there's a belief there somewhere. I'm not exactly sure what it is or why it works or why I believe it. I don't want it anymore. I'm just going to now replace it with.
Yes, you can do that.
I don't even want to spend any more time plumbing the depths to figure this out.
That's realization.
Yeah.
That's the realization side of treatment.
Right.
Yes, you can totally do that. A lot of people can't do that logically. I can. I mean, I found that belief out of it. I wasn't really looking for it. It just came to me and I was like, oh, now here's the thing. I didn't go find the person that gave me that belief. I didn't blame my mother and my whole family who gets sick every Christmas. Right? I didn't go there and say, oh, that's where this came from. It wasn't important to me, because once you find something that you don't like, change it. I don't want that belief. You know, I keep saying this to you, but even like Jeffrey, I know I get grumpy in December. He doesn't want to be grumpy in December. He doesn't have to be grumpy in December. And he doesn't even have to know why he's grumpy in December. But you can make those decisions. And you don't have to go. Most people spend their whole lives trying to figure out what their parents did to them. And they've wasted a life trying to pin it on someone. And all they ever had to do is finally say, yeah, okay, so this is who I am now. I don't like it. And now I'm this. Period. End of sentence. But you have to come from a belief that you actually can do that. That's the real thing. You actually have to believe this teaching. And that's actually where we start with Troward, because basically in this first chapter, this first thing he's going to talk about is the starting point, is the first chapter. And what I'm going to do is I will cover the chapter tonight, and then you have the whole week to read it. And you'll be benefited by the fact that I've already covered it. So when you're reading it, it'll make more sense to you, rather than you reading it and then coming in and looking at me like, what was he saying? I think it will work really well this way. I teach it, you get to read it, and then do the homework on it. Okay? Yes. Yes. So in the foreword to the book, he says this. He says, there's a quote. It says, relying on the maxim that principle is not bound by precedent, we should not limit our expectations of the future. Relying on the maxim that principle is not bound by precedent, we should not limit our expectations of the future, certainly based on the past. If all we could ever hope for is that whatever happened in the past will happen again, many of us would be running for the hills. Who said principle is not bound by precedent? Do you remember what philosophical mind that came out of? Yes, Ralph Waldo Emerson. And who knows what a maxim is?
True.
Not really. Yes.
M-A-X-I-M?
M-A-X-I-M. What's a maxim besides a men's magazine?
Saying, an aphorism, encapsulated piece of wisdom.
Encapsulated piece of wisdom. Okay. So here's a I looked it up because I wanted to be really clear. What's the difference between all these things, principles, maxims? It's this: an observation that is sustained by experience. So in other words, a maxim is something that someone has observed, enough people have observed it, enough people have proved it, that experience tells us this is the way it is. Well, experience would mostly tell us principle is bound by precedence. That if this is the way it's been happening, this is what's going to happen. If this happened then, it's going to happen now. And what Troward's saying, it's the exact opposite. Principle is not bound by precedence, as Emerson has said. Okay? He also says we are required by the law of our being. And I love this sentence. We are required by the law of our being to take a more active part in our personal evolution. So what would that mean? Jeffrey, what does that mean, to take a more active part in your evolution?
Well, own it. Figure out where you're coming from.
Right. Okay. Eric?
Once you break down the belief, then putting it into action.
Okay. Sean, what do you think?
Yeah, it's an active process. You're not passive. You're not reactive. You're deliberate.
Yeah, exactly. You're deliberate. You're
Very
intentional. Your life is this constant flowing movement of energy. It just flows. It is always moving. It's always moving forward. It's always moving for your highest good. But you can still take it and turn it this way and take the long road to joy or happiness or prosperity, whatever it is. So what he's saying is, it is our responsibility to take an active part in showing our life where we want it to go. So he says the starting point is knowing that your mind is capable of you taking it and saying, and here's where we're going. Anthony. Yeah, it's taking charge. It's being decisive. It's taking volition, which is what you have and are. It's taking volition and actually using it. So that's what this whole book and course is about. Okay, so now the chapter, the starting point. The first thing he says in the chapter is that order is heaven's first law. Order is heaven's first law. Where do you see order in the world? How so?
Well, there are seasons. Plants grow. If you put seeds in the ground, you water them,
Okay.
in sunlight.
Good.
They produce fruit and vegetables.
Okay.
Life cycle.
Which is?
You born, you live, you die.
That was just so succinct. You're born, you live, you die. But yes.
I see it in the way, electrons spin around a nucleus, or the way planets spin around a star.
So you just went from the microcosm to the macrocosm, and they're the same thing. The way matter is, this thing up here, which I'm going to hit it and drive them all nuts. This here is the same thing as this here. Same thing, the exact same thing. It's all matter, which we're going to talk about. It's all the energy of life. These things all came together in order to create this. Do you see this like falling apart and like shooting all over the room? No, it came together and held together to form this. This came together and held together very nicely. Right? So that's what he's saying here. That's what he starts with. And not a lot of people really get that there is order. The planets are not running into each other. The sun does rise in the morning, and it does set, and it will every single day. There is order to all of this. So something has ordered this into place. Somehow this has all been put into this perfect, orderly system. So he says we must learn to arrange things in the right order to produce the required result. We must learn to arrange things in the right order to produce the required result. So what do you think, what do you need to, Yes, Myrna.
Can you hear me?
Yep, loud and clear.
Oh, good, I'm glad. I was trying to answer the question that you asked first, because to me, I think living consciously is a matter of choice.
Right.
We can choose to live consciously, or we can choose to be asleep.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, good. Can they raise their hands to you? You'll know. So just stop me right away.
Yeah, if you guys just raise.
You can actually even just speak.
Well, but if we have a TV muted, we can't hear them speak.
I won't keep the TV muted if you keep yourselves muted, but you all have to be muted. And
Okay.
then you just unmute and speak, and you'll be just like these people. You'll
Okay.
interrupt me when you need to. Okay? So we must learn to arrange things in right order to produce the required result. What do you have to put in right order to produce the required result? Your mind, thoughts, beliefs. Remember now, your thoughts are coming from your beliefs. So that's why this whole idea of change your thinking, change your life. No, you can't just change your thinking and change your life. You can't just walk around saying all these lovely things and think you're really changing your life, unless it's changing your beliefs. If it's changing your beliefs, then it's working. If you're just saying sweet things, well, at least you're saying sweet things.
James,
Yes.
Can't thought drive belief? Can I use
Yes.
my thoughts to
You can use your thoughts to change a belief, because your cognitive mind, your critical thinking, is going to listen to what you're saying and decide what you believe about it. And if you argue it well enough, you'll turn your belief around. Like the good lawyer we can be in our minds, Doug, right? We can argue it, we can turn our beliefs around. And that's the whole point of critical thinking and of using your mind as like a courtroom. You know, the whole I am God. People argue this with me all the time because they come at me very often with this whole concept of, but when you say I am God, it sounds like you're saying you're all of God. So what am I then? I'm like, yeah, that's not what I'm saying, A. And you're whatever you decide you are. That's your experience. But if all there is God, I have to be God. Because what else is there? All there is God. Every religion teaches all there is God. So my cognitive mind can say, then I'm God. If all there is God, then I am God. And so the way we tend to diminutive ourselves, to lessen ourselves, to like pull ourselves back to what? Minimum, yeah. To what? Diminish ourselves. Thank you. I knew that word was going to come. The way we do that is by saying, well, I'm not all of God. See how I've just diminished it? Oh, well, okay, I am God, but I'm not all of God. And yet, the truth is, and this is where he starts this whole book, universal mind. There's order to all of it. We're all part of this order. We are part of this one amazing thing, this one orderly system. And that means I am it. And if I'm willing to just expand myself bigger than the smallness that the human sometimes thinks it is, I can actually allow myself to be this bigger thing. Make sense? And that's how I argue in my mind for this understanding of I am God. So yes, so if we're going to arrange things in our mind to produce the order, the things we want in our life, then it's how you're going to arrange the thoughts in your mind. How are you going to arrange the way you think? How are you going to arrange your beliefs? So you really do have to be willing to go, I actually believe this. How many of you believe that in 2016, there are going to be good times and not so good times? I didn't say bum times. I was not going to Sondheim myself out here. Right? How many of you believe that? Real honestly. How many of you think it's going to be, 2016 is going to be every day, 24/7, perfect, beautiful, nothing, no problems, more money than ever, and it's just going to be the most amazing year yet? Well, probably, because you just sold your house. So, okay, so it's that kind of thinking. Are you willing to go in there and ask yourself what you really believe? Now, here's the thing. I believe that if I decide it to be 2016, with all of its challenges, no matter what, I can experience it the best way I've ever experienced any year yet. How many of you believe that's possible? So then why not decide that? Why not absolutely decide that? And then what you've really done is literally reclassified that whole year. And now it doesn't matter what happens. It doesn't matter how it unfolds. You've already decided it's going to unfold in a way you are always going to make the best out of it and make the most out of it. And it's going to really show up the way you expect it. Now, if I say it that way, it doesn't sound as stupid as saying, how many people think 2016 is going to be a year where it's going to be absolutely perfect and nothing's going to happen to you that's bad? No, because we have to know how to talk to ourselves and find out what I really believe. And what belief do I have that can sustain me? What belief do I really have that I want to lean into, and as he says thing, arrange my life around that belief? That's what he's talking about. And that brings up the first topic he really talks about, which is the personal factor. The personal factor. And he says the personal factor is what each one of us brings to the equation that might have been missing. How many of you have had things happen this year that put you in a funk? So all of you, okay, pretty much all of you. Jan, do you have anything put you in a funk this year? No? Get out.
Well, this is a big change year for me.
Good.
Just retired. So.
Yes, so yeah. The world is your oyster.
You got it.
Good. Okay, so the personal factor, what Troward's telling us is, the personal factor is whatever that was, whatever maybe put you in a funk, how did you handle it? What did you do with it? Not even how did you create it. What did you do when it showed up? Because once you've created it, the only important thing then is, and most of us get into like, how did I do this? Why did this happen? It's her fault. Oh my God, why am I her friend? Why do I even let myself be friends with people like this? And now we're just down the rabbit hole. But the personal factor really is, all right, this is in front of me. What do I want to do about it? What do I want to do with it? What's the best I can get out of this? So that's what Troward's saying. You are the personal factor. Nothing. Yeah.
Would that be like secondary cause?
Not secondary cause.
Or cause?
Yes, it would be. Thank you. Yes, secondary causation. Yes, meaning if this is what showed up, the personal factor is, what are you going to bring conscious? What are you going to be conscious of about this to set it in motion now? So if this is and since some of you are looking at me because you might not know the circle, so if this is the circle and this is my mind, and here is the things that are happening in my life, here's my conscious mind, here's conscious living, and here's the subjective mind that Mesmer said we can tap into and inform and tell what it needs to do. So if this shows up and it's an annoying little niggler thing that really bugs me, I'm going to have to react to it in some way. I'm going to react to it in some way. The minute I react to it, I'm going to go into conscious mind and I'm going to do something about it. I'm going to put some energy around it, and it's going to make its way back to another, whatever I decide to do with it. So there's the personal factor. Every single one of us is going to do it based on our own beliefs. Yes?
Sorry, I'm still confused at what the personal factor is.
You are the personal factor. You. Your conscious mind. Your individual. Yep. Remember, this is the individualized you. So this is Liza Marquez.
Right.
Your personal factor is the way you personally interact with whatever's going on.
So the personal factor is the error.
It's you. This is all you. This is you too. It's all you. The personal factor is you personally are going to deal with whatever happens to you the way you deal with it. Jeffrey's going to deal with it the way he deals with it. Jan's going to deal with it in a magnificent way, the way she deals with it, right? That's the personal factor.
Individualized expression.
Yes, individual. But individual meaning, well, I'm going to get into that. I'll get ahead of myself. But yes, you are the personal factor, each one of us. Does everybody get that? In other words, what we're looking for, we're looking with. What I bring to the party designates how the party goes. Have you ever been to a party that's been really boring? It's just really boring. And then like someone like me shows up and all of a sudden it has like this new energy. That's the personal factor. I've never been to a boring party at your house, I can tell you that. But that's what it is. But you've been in those places where you feel the energy just go because somebody brings their personal factor into that equation. Make sense now? Yes? I knew the party thing would get you. Got it now, right? Okay, so here we go, the starting point. What are you looking for? You're here in this class tonight, and this I want answers to. What are you looking for? What do you want out of life? I know you all said you want to learn more, you want to get clear about your beliefs, but be daring enough tonight to just let it out there. Say it. What do you want more of? What do you want in your life? What are you looking for? What is it that you want to express more? What is it you want to show up down here more? Sandy, what do you want more of? What do you want in life?
Like physical things? Like
Well, it's an open-ended question. What do you want in life? What do you want out of life? You said love? Okay, so you want more love in your life. Okay, so you want, and tell me what that means to you. Oh, sex. Okay, so. Okay. No, but what does that mean to you?
No, it just means more
Like, here's the thing.
bonding, more family, more just more love.
Were you in church on Sunday? I asked a question and somebody said it and I went, not specific enough. Because it was just like I want to be happy. No, what do you really, I get that you want to be happy. And it's not that that's not a good answer. That wasn't his answer. It was something else. Everything, that's what it was. I said, what do you want out of life? Everything. Really. Specific. So like, I want more love in my life. What does that mean? What does the universe hear you saying to it?
So more loving people around.
Okay, I want more friends, more loving people that I can connect with, that come from a heart-led place. Okay, good. Do you want a man?
Yes.
Okay, say that. I want a man. What kind of man?
Keanu Reeves.
Don't be that specific. Yeah. Someone like Keanu Reeves, physically apparently. Okay, good. So but that's what we're talking about. So what do you want out of life, Jeffrey?
Security.
Security. What does that mean?
It means more love. It means actually more of what I've got. You know, I know it's all there, and to stop doubting myself that it's going to continue to come.
Yes. There's someone in boots.
There's always been enough, and I need to remind myself there will always be enough.
Do you think you have a belief, someone in CPR has this very belief, do you think you have a belief that there's a possibility that the rug could be pulled off from under you?
Always.
Okay, there's a belief you need to take to the dump.
Yeah.
That's it. Not to take a dump, but to take to the dump. Or do that. Get it out of you.
I always know that there's enough. You know, it's like telling somebody, my parents are 80 years old. You've never been homeless before. Why do you think that now you're going to be homeless at 80 years old?
Right.
You're not. We'll figure it all out.
Right.
I know that. I know better than that. But there's always something that's that I've slipped on that rug before.
I know.
So it's a bit of a trauma that you have to work with.
And yet principle's not bound by precedence. We've all slipped on the rug. Anybody else had the rug pulled out from under them ever? Right. So, but that creates in ourselves these beliefs that the rug can be pulled out from under us. But I'm here to tell you, there is a belief that trumps that. And that's that who I am has no rugs under me. There is no rug to be pulled out from under God. Period. End of sentence. So if I stay over here and focus on this truth and not let myself entertain this idea, then this keeps expanding and this finally goes away.
If you remind me that I'm walking with God, I don't even think about a rug.
I know, right? And now I'm going to remind you that you're walking as God. Yeah. Okay. What else? Who else? Tell me what you want. More money. What does that mean?
That means that I can pay all my bills on time, that I can tithe to the church more.
Okay.
I can travel.
Good. Okay, no, that's all good. So why don't you have more money?
Because I have a belief that I'm not good enough.
Okay.
And that I don't deserve it. But it is changing.
Good.
I have-
That was a good, your voice got deep on
I
that.
have manifested more energy, so more
Good.
is coming in.
Okay. What else? What do you want? Oh, behind you. I've lost your name in my head. Karen. Then I'll get to you, Doug. What do you want, Karen?
I want to feel less separate from everything.
Okay. You're like, is that all? Do you want more? You want to feel less separate, more connected.
Yes.
To what?
I guess other people.
Okay. So what belief do you think keeps you separated?
Use the belief that everybody's very different.
Right.
And that I'm different from everybody. And that I don't take time to really recognize all the sameness.
Okay. That's good. This is going to be great for you, even tonight, where I'm going with this. That's great. Okay. Yes. Go ahead. Who?
Myrna? Yes.
Go ahead. What do you want, Myrna?
You know, throughout this whole conversation, the only thing I really want is to be able to walk on water, is to really be able to discover what it means to be God, to really embrace that and live from that perspective, to be able to create and accept my greatness.
Okay, good. I don't think walking on water means you're God, but I get the metaphor. It's good. It's good. Okay, what else? Doug?
A greater sense of peace and joy moment to moment. And actually this morning, after listening to yesterday's CPR, the belief affirmation I wrote down was, nothing shows up that I can't handle with grace and ease.
Great. And you want more of that?
Yeah, in each moment. I mean, I want that feeling that I mean, that for me would be an aspect of enlightenment or something. To be in a place where whatever shows up, I can handle it with grace and ease.
Okay.
And it's not the rug being pulled out from under me. It's not my security being taken away. It's.
Well, you can. I know you can.
I do too.
Yeah, exactly. So, so that I can move on, y'all know what you want. You're just not sharing it at the particular moment. So I'm going to count to 3, and then when I count to 3, everyone want to just blurt out what it is they want, what you want. Okay. So here we go. 1, 2, 3. I'll have what she's having. Okay. So here's what Troward says. Yes, David.
I just got to share this. When I was in college at UCLA, there was this girl who had this thing about the lead singer of the Doors, if anyone remembers who that was.
Jim Morrison.
And she had this whole focused thing about Jim Morrison, and that she just was going to meet Jim Morrison. She's going to date Jim Morrison. I remember one night after studying down in the lobby, I fell asleep on the couch in the lobby, woke up in the morning, and there she is walking arm in arm with Jim Morrison.
No way.
So in other words, bring Keanu to class. Well, let's face it, there is the law of attraction, and we're going to actually talk about that a little bit if I ever get to it. So here's Troward's answer to what do I want out of life. Here's what he says we should want out of life. You ready? Getting more out of life in a continually progressive degree. That's an aspiration. To know that, as Jeffrey said, actually, you all have great stuff. We all have great stuff. We have great experiences. We all have what we have in our lives. So to continue to constantly progress and have more of that and have it just continue to expand. He said, what we want then is to introduce our own personal factor into the realm of unseen causes. This is a big thing, he says. To introduce our personal factor into the realm of unseen causes. Where is unseen causes on this diagram? Where is, yeah.
Subjective mind?
Conscious mind. Boy, it starts there, yeah.
No. Well, you're not incorrect, Sean, because you could say unseen causes could be subjective beliefs that we're not aware of. Yes, and that's probably what you were meaning. It's not really here. Unseen causes. You know where it is? It's a little bit of a trick question.
Outside.
Yeah, it's not outside. Nothing's outside.
Well, that's what I was trying to figure
of
out how to say that outside of
unseen causes, the oversoul, where everything is. Everything is in this one infinite universal mind that I am part of, right? So this is who I am. So this unseen cause is right here, just wherever I want. And I literally, when we talk about intuition, intuition is when I am allowing to filter through me all that brilliance of the universe. That's when I'm intuiting, when I'm downloading from that which is bigger than my own individual self, which is still myself. So when he says this about the unseen causes, introduce my personal factor into the realm of unseen causes, meaning I am literally going to stand here and say, bring it. Bring it. This is what I want. More love, more love. I want a perfect soulmate. I want to never again feel like it's even possible for anything to be taken away from me. I want to know that, because that is up there. And when I say up there, I just mean here, right? That's the truth, because that's the spiritual truth. That there is unity, there's wholeness. You all get that? I mean, I could become one with that blackboard momentarily. And then he says, basically, this is the law of cause and effect that we're talking about. Law of cause and effect. The personal factor is cause. Your personal factor is the cause. What you decide is the cause. And it must come here, because this always says yes. He says we use the law of cause and effect every time we do something and expect a specific result. Now, what's the important part of that sentence? Expect a specific result. It does not behoove you to think willy-nilly into the atmosphere of maybe, if, oh, that would be nice someday, hopefully, if the ducks are all in a line. I know it's in a row. So the first principle of the law of cause and effect, we go back to harmony. The first principle of the law of cause and effect is harmony, meaning that everything is in harmony with one another, which is so funny, Karen, because the whole principle that we're teaching here is the principle of oneness, that you can never be separate. You can never be separated from. And yet the multiplicity is allowing for the individuality to show up and everyone be different as part of the same thing. So I want to read this to you. This is one of the quotes from the book. He says, what we are seeking is to discover how to arrange things in such an order as to set in motion a train of causation that will harmonize our own conditions without antagonizing the exercise of a like power of ours. Meaning, we're looking to discover a way to arrange our beliefs so that those beliefs are in harmony with universal beliefs. The universal belief of love, the universal belief of success, the universal belief of prosperity, the universal belief of perfect health. All of those are divine truths. And so what we're looking to do, he says, is arrange my beliefs and my thoughts so that it literally flows with that energy that is the life force that we are. And not in a way that takes away from anyone else. Not in a way that gets us into any kind of conflicts. Not in a way that gets us into any kind of negativity or negation. Ernest Holmes actually talks about this. He says, he puts it this way. He said, everything is ours to own, provided it takes nothing away from anyone else. So it's one thing to say, let's just talk about when you want a house. Because I remember sitting in this class and somebody saying, but I want this one house. This is the house I want. And that's not outlining. Outlining would be saying how to get that house. But here was the problem. You weren't in this class. I don't know if anybody was. Ellen might have been in this class. The problem was that there were people living in the house. They weren't selling their house. They liked their house. And this person kept saying to me, I've gone to them. I've said, I really want to buy. I know this is my house. I'm like, it's not your house. It's their house. How many of you own houses? How many of you get little things saying someone wants to buy your house? Do you get those? I get them all the time. because so many people want to live in my neighborhood. I always laugh. I'm like, well, they can't. I own my house. I'm not going anywhere. So what Ernest Holmes is saying is, so long as you stay in harmony with those vibrations that are of the highest good, love, health, prosperity, success, and you don't get into the whole competitive race of I want what that person has, I want this, I want that, I'll show them. That's a vibration that is not in harmony with the way the life unfolds. Make sense? Did you all get that? How many times have you tried to make something happen and it didn't, and you're just killing yourself because you're just working so hard to make this happen because your mind decided this is how it has to be, and yet then something happens and just unfolds perfectly. It may not be what you wanted. So, anybody hear of Euclid's axiom? Euclid was a Greek mathematician. Actually, he was called the father of geometry. Okay? Here's his axiom. It's a mathematical axiom, and I hope I didn't lose any of you just with saying that. Geometry, I hear geometry and algebra, and I'm like, ah. But I get this one. Euclid's axiom is this. Things which are equal to the same thing are equal to one another. Just think about that for a second. Things which are equal to the same thing are equal to one another. So that means if Jeffrey is equal to success and Doug is equal to success, they are like, right? And if the two of them are equal to success and David is equal to success, they're still in vibration with the same energy. Now, so if everybody in this room is in the vibration of and has the core belief in success, you are in vibration with the vibration of success, which occurs and exists in the universal mind of all. So there is a universal energy vibration of success that we can get into alignment with and allow ourselves to reap that energy called success. Now, I can't get into that vibration of success when I'm sitting here going, Jan is just so happy, I just want to kill her. How come she's happy and I'm not? I'm not in alignment with that at all. If I were to turn to her and go, oh my God, whatever she's having, I'll have. What was that thing? I'll have what she's having. That's what this is all about. Understanding unity in such a way that you can get into vibration with it, into unity with it, and allow it to take you. That's Euclid's axiom. Things which are equal to the same thing are equal to one another, and we are all equal to one thing, and that's God. And what else? What do we call that in our teaching? The mental equivalent. Mental equivalent, which was Emmett Fox. What's very interesting is Emmett Fox, and I didn't know this, I just looked it up. Emmett Fox was actually a friend of Thomas Troward. And yeah, it does make sense. When you go back and you look at these minds and the things they were coming up with, Euclid's axiom, Greek mathematician from back in BC times, and he's saying the same thing that now Phineas Quimby's saying, Thomas Troward's saying, Emmett Fox is saying, then Ernest Holmes takes it and does his spin on it. So this universal creative principle is bigger than you. It's bigger than just you, Eric. It's bigger than just your individual use of it. And I think we do ourselves a disservice when we keep thinking we are this, David fighting Goliath. We're not. I am the principle. I am the universal principle. If there's a universal principle of love, I am love, which is what I will do the whole month of December. Prove it. I'm going to live as love. Not just think there's love for me to have, not just think I can get in alignment with love, but I am love. Let me live as love. Let me live as success. I don't have to be successful to live as success. I don't have to be rich to live prosperity. I don't have to even be healthy to live healthful. Do you get that? That's what he's saying. And it's like, since this whole thing is like the start of all of this, and what he says is that this universal creative principle, we can call it God, it manifests as multiplicity. Meaning, the energy of life is creative. It can do nothing but create. That's all it knows how to do. All it knows how to do is create, constantly create. But it creates itself as Dana, Martha. That's what it does. It multiplicities itself. It shows up as the multiplicity of life, meaning every single one of us individually experiencing and expressing this and then being in unity with it. And again, I know we talked about oneness every week during Beyond Limits. It was the first principle, and it got reiterated every single week. And basically, that's what Troward's saying in a more intellectual way, I believe, to say that there's this universal principle, and that's what you are. You are that. Okay, so now here's a question for you to answer to me. Why does matter exist? What is matter? What is matter? Not what's the matter. What is matter?
Mass, energy.
Mass, energy. You all in agreement with that?
Form. So everything must manifest in form.
Do you all believe that?
Yes.
Everything must manifest in form. Yes?
What is form? What is form?
Where is form? It's down here. So it's that which shows up. It's the effect, cause and effect. It's the effect. So matter is something tangible, yes? The beam is matter. The microphone is matter. You, your body, is matter. If everything must manifest as form, wouldn't that mean that every single thing you think, every single belief you entertain, every single core belief you hold on to is constantly creating something tangible in your life? So are you all in alignment with that? Do you all agree with that? Craig?
I'm working on digesting it and trying to take this in. There's energy and there's mass. Let's say that's it.
Okay. Where does mass come from?
Well, there's an equivalency that didn't used to be understood, right? There used to be the belief, the understanding of the universe was there's energy and there's mass.
Right.
And Einstein linked the two
Yes.
equation. There's this borderline in between energy and mass, which is quantum waves and
Right.
stuff that's kind of I don't.
But is it now proven that that's part of the process?
I think
Coming from the energy into the form. That's the thing that happens in between.
Yeah, I think what I'm getting with here is that consciousness either is this the universal consciousness, and we're kind of taking that for granted. Troward seems to present it as a hypothesis.
Well, what he's saying is that when he starts and says that the universe is in unity, nothing's running into each other, something's holding it all together, and that something is this universal mind. That's his whole theory. Basically, that's all of their theories, from back in Pythagoras all the way through till now.
Well, it seemed a little circular. I did read. So it seems
Yeah.
circular to me. It says matter exists because if it didn't exist, everything would flow into each other.
Right.
It's kind of like,
Is that what that says right there? That matter exists because?
Why does matter exist? The answer is if form were not expressed in solid substance, things would be perpetually flowing into each other so that no identity could be maintained.
Right. So the answer for me, though, why does matter exist is because life is always creating. Because it's much like what Sean said. If it's here, it has to show up here in some form, at some place, on some level. We either do or we don't live in a cause and effect world. And I know we do. I believe wholeheartedly that we do. And it has been proven time and time again. If it's here, it has to come out here. It affects something. Somehow it affects life. Somehow whatever we're thinking and believing affects life, shifts it in some way that it shows up in form.
Random daydreams. I mean,
I believe everything, but to the degree that it's backed by belief. So I don't know how much random daydreams are really backed by too much belief.
yeah.
I'm trying to think. I woke up with a dream the other morning, and I was telling Kevin about this dream, and I was trying to figure out what this dream came from, and then I remembered something I saw on TV that like triggered that kind of a bizarre dream. So do I believe all that stuff? No, but it just, the mind is a very clever little thing that can just keep tapping into one thing, into another. But do I believe all that? Do I believe cows are going to fly into my bedroom? No. First of all, I'm on the ground floor. Why would they fly? And it was very illogical. David?
I would argue that the very fact that you had a reaction, a thought, a feeling, an emotional reaction, is in itself a tangible manifestation of that creative thought.
Yes,
so
but
it does manifest into tangible form at all times, even if that manifestation is only a subtle form, such as, oh my God, what a weird dream that was.
yes, but that's not matter.
I would argue that emotions are matter.
No,
Because
emotions
exist in
create
the body.
matter. Emotions.
Emotions are physical manifestations of the feelings, but they're physical manifestations. You have to feel, you have to experience an emotion in the physical body. It is a physical manifestation.
Well, I could say a tear is a manifestation, I guess.
Or the daydream is I mean, certainly with functional MRI, we could look inside a brain and say, okay, they're thinking this type of thought or having this sort of mental experience.
Which is
we're reversing it. We're kind of saying the experience creates the reality, the physical reality.
Yes.
Others would say
Not the
physical-
experience. The consciousness creates the physical
Right.
reality. And then the physical reality recreates the consciousness, depending on how you then apply your beliefs. Sean?
I remember in New York, my Reverend Lynch said to me,
Carol?
Carol said, try this. Think about something trivial that's not important to you and see if it manifests, like balloons. And I didn't know what she was talking about. Just try to think about, and you'll notice how many balloons you see. And lo and behold, I did see balloons. And the purpose of that was it's easy to see and give credit to it, to see the causation when it's something that we're not emotionally attached to. It's very difficult to accept this principle when it's relating to the way we run
Personal.
our lives.
Yes. That's why in CPR, I
Eric,
make
when I-
people do the impersonal exercise of take a belief, argue it from both sides, and prove to yourself you can make it real on either side.
So Eric and I were driving here.
You
and
saw
we were pulling
balloons?
into the parking lot, and we were talking about people who ride around in motorized scooters. This is a conversation we were having. And we got out of the car, and within 5 minutes, we walked into Starbucks, where we ran into Craig and Lori, and right in front of us was a woman pulling in a big motorized scooter. Now, you can say, it's a coincidence. It's not a coincidence. That doesn't mean I created it. It doesn't mean I made that happen. Not the I am God, like I willed that to happen.
Right.
But it's a vibrational, I don't know how it works. It doesn't matter whether I know how it works. This is an example, I think, about everything eventually has an effect. It may not always be that immediate, but there's always an effect.
Well, I think what Carol's talking about is when there's nothing to impede the demonstration,
Right.
it's pretty immediate.
I was not emotionally attached to balloons, not emotionally attached to the concept of people in motorized scooters.
So everyone
There's no
tonight
resistance.
needs
As
to.
Abraham talked about, there's no resistance. That's why it just manifests so easily and so floridly.
So everyone tonight should be on the lookout for big boxes of cash, and just see if that shows up. See how often you see big boxes of cash laying there. I had to go get. I had a 20 and I needed a 5. And Kevin said, and you're all gonna laugh because you know I don't do this. He said, you know what? Just go buy a lottery ticket, and that'll. And I was like, Kevin, I don't do lottery tickets. He says, James, just go to the store. It's right around the corner. Give them the 20. Take a $5 lottery ticket. And I was like so desperate. I was really in a rush. I was like, fine. So I drive in and I say, can I have a $5 lottery ticket? The guy was like, which lottery? There are 3. And I was like, I have no idea. What? Just give me one. He says, well, wait, do you want the California state? I said, which one has the most? And so I bought $5 worth. And then I get in the car and I'm driving and I was like, wouldn't it be really funny if out of nowhere I needed to change a 20, so I bought a lottery ticket so that I could pay the guy who's picking up my son because I couldn't get, I was like, that would just be the best story on a talk show. Here's how I won $30 million. And I didn't even believe in it. And then I blew the whole thing because I went, except I know I'll never win the lottery. So there you go. But I do. I kind of have a belief I'll never win. Although I got to tell you, there's something in me. I cannot wait to go home tonight and check those numbers because hope springs eternal. Just smidgen above despair. Okay, so basically, what Troward is saying is there is something holding all of this stuff together. There's something holding everything together between the spaces, the glue, the between, the space in between, that which just, well, like the Higgs boson, you know, there's that thing that where they isolated the cell, not the cell, the particle, the particle that apparently is creative, that forces it forces everything around it to express, to have physical mass. Yeah. So I don't know why they call that the God particle, although I get it that they're saying, oh, there's the creative element. But what Troward's saying is that, and it's not scientific, so I'll disabuse you of that fear. It's not scientific, but it's logical. It makes sense, which is what he's saying. It's a sensible calculation based on how the universe appears and how it works. And so he says, if what is universal is individual, would we not do ourselves a greater service to start identifying ourselves with the universal, more so even than the individual? To start to identify ourselves with the way the universe works, with the breathtaking awesomeness of the universe, as opposed to the sometimes limited version of ourselves that we see in the mirror. And that's when we get into those, why do you think meditation is so big? Why do you think people want to close their eyes and allow themselves to go, to drift? Because they suddenly become bigger. They become one with all of this, and they stop being so myopic in their way of living life. So go to page 7 in your book, top of the paragraph.
I'm sorry, what page?
Page 7.
Thank you.
You know, I don't usually tell you where it is, but I thought you could read it along as I read it. Bless you. He says this: in itself, the essence of matter is precisely the fluent substance we have imagined. And as we shall see later on, the knowledge of this fact, when realized in its proper order, is the basis of legitimate control of mind over matter. So let me read that again. In itself, the essence of matter is precisely the fluent substance we have imagined. And as we shall see later on, the knowledge of this fact, when realized in its proper order, is the basis of legitimate control of mind over matter. So what he's saying here is that you all heard the expression mind over matter. I mean, I always joke when I say that's what bowling is, mind over bowling. You know, that's why we call our group the mob, mind over bowling. But it's true, it's mind over anything. If everything comes from consciousness, if all matter shows up because it was thought of first, it was an idea first, and the idea turned into the experience, then taking charge of your imagination, taking charge of your mind, gives you the right to say that you are one of those minds that can have the accessibility to mind over matter. That's why we say you can create your life. You can design your life. Design your life. So what are your thoughts on that statement? Not my statement, his. What are your thoughts on that? Do you believe that you can, that there is such a thing as mind over matter? So then I got to ask the question, if we believe this, why don't we do it more?
I think we think it. I'm not sure we totally believe it.
Okay. Laurie?
I think it becomes a practice, and that you have to, it's not something you can, be, okay, mind over matter. Yes, I think we have to really, and fall on our face and get up and keep working it.
Pick yourself up, dust yourself off. And
start all over again. Yeah.
I think part of the reason is because we wait until we have to fix something, and then we feel overwhelmed that we can't change it. And so we get less and less, but we believe less and less that we actually have this ability. Connie?
I was just going to say, I felt like it was conditional. We made it conditional in our own minds so that we're actually saying things like, well, can't walk on water, but I could totally be the cliff.
Right. It is conditional. Yeah. I mean, how many of you, I mean, if I went around the room and said, what do you think, I will, what do you think you have control over? What do you know you can affect with your mind? Dana?
My health.
Your health.
Come back to me on that. Come back to me again.
Liza,
I'm sorry.
we'll go back to you. Eric.
My mood.
Okay, there's a good one. Your mood. Can you affect your mood? Can you change your mood with your mind? Good.
My mood, my experience, my interpretation of events that I tell myself.
My interpretation. Good.
I was going with experience.
You'll have what he's having?
Yes.
Okay.
The experience to be, or the choice to be happy, or the experience.
Okay. Lynn?
I would say my confidence in my job and career,
Okay.
like how I work.
You have control over that with your mind. Okay, good. Sandy? Okay. Lori?
Working on health. I mean, I don't know. I used to think I was in control.
Okay, but you don't know, so that's not the right answer. What do you have control over? Where can you,
Oh,
where do you
okay.
know
I see what
you can use your mind and make a difference and make a change?
I can turn my thoughts around and give myself the opportunity to think in a different way, to be open to see it differently.
Be more specific. What have you changed? What have you created in your life? Because you know you did it with your mind.
A lot of negativity.
Okay. Now, fascinating that you said that. We use our minds all the time to derail ourselves, don't we?
Yeah.
It's just as, I know we're all trying to come up with these great things that we do, but how often do we just use our negative thoughts to derail us? That's still mind over matter. You just kept that away from you by thinking this. Sean, what about you?
Steady employment.
Yeah, good. Doug?
It just all, my thoughts, my mood, my emotions,
Okay.
all of it. And it's not always where I want it to go, but
Right. Okay. Corinne?
Health.
Okay. Jen?
My relationships. And I had a very interesting thing happen about 2 Sundays ago in the middle of church where I had a belief that my older sister and my younger brother don't love me by the way they respond and act. And what came to me was, it hit me so hard. It says, they love you very much, but the way they love you, the way they show their love. Now, it's not the way Lindy and I are,
Right.
you know, and I thought, oh, I think it has to be like that. And so at that moment, my heart just opened up, and because I was protecting myself by that belief, and my heart just opened up, and I just relaxed, and I said, they love me just exactly the way they need to.
Okay, so she just gave you an example of actually using the tools to actually get to the result by using the mind. Right. And you actually even identified a core belief. I think people have to love me this way. And when you let go of that and say, no, people can only love me the way they can love. Right. Good.
But this is a question and not necessarily crosstalk. I'm curious, when that happened though, was it a thought you had to change the thought? Or like you said, did it hit you like all of a sudden you go, wait a minute? I have a really powerful voice that I recognize that talks to me. And when it hits me, it's like the truth. And I feel it all over.
And the thing you came up with was, I think people have to love me this way, which is actually a core belief coming up.
Right, but it wasn't something that you recognized, treated, worked on, and then got to the truth. It just came to you. It was like download. In the back of my mind, that was a relationship I wanted to heal. Got it.
But I think I hear what you're saying too. Were you specifically thinking about this?
No.
About your brother and sister?
It came out of the clear blue sky.
The feeling that they don't love you.
I didn't even know that that's what my belief was.
Right.
I just knew I distanced them from me to feel protected.
Okay.
And then that's when I realized I didn't even know I didn't think that they loved me. And then
I
Mhm.
realize they do love me.
So Liza, are you asking this question because are you trying to make a point that she wasn't trying to
I'm
do
not
it? It
making a
just
point. What I'm doing is I'm reading this and I literally read something. It's our. I wish I would have underlined it. It's our business.
our responsibility.
To get to the truth. And
Yes.
I just remember going, fuck, like I have to dig for something. So my question for
No, it's not that you have to dig for it.
I know, but hear me when I say
Yes.
that. For me, this is what showed up.
Right.
So that's why I was curious how she got to hers.
Well, I would have to actually have a long conversation with her to find out what prompted her to get to there. But I will tell you this. A mind that is thinking and a mind that is questioning and a mind that is looking for discovery is already open to all of this, is already accessing all of this. It's going to come out of nowhere sometimes. It will still pop up because that's what we're doing. She's in these classes because she's saying, I want to know more. So we're already informing the universe, bring it to me. So I don't have to sit down and like figure it out. In fact, many times that just blocks me.
Yes, but that's what I'm doing too. And I feel like I'm sitting in the.
Don't.
Can I share one thing? Is that I've set an intention to heal all my relationships. And at night, and that comes up is just anything that's blocked. I have an affirmation that love brings anything up that gets in its way. And sometimes it's very painful, but I set an intention that I want rich, loving relationships. So that was circling around in the universe, and it.
Cool. Good. Thank you. I really appreciate the way you posed that. It's good. Okay. I'm going to keep going just because I have to finish and you'd all want to get home tonight at some point. So Troward links relative matter to universal matter or cosmic mind. So everything relative, he links to the universal, meaning there's no separation. Rationalizing that we are all indeed part of this whole mind, not just our own thing. So this is what I love. This is in the book and I loved it. 4 times 2 equals. That was not a trick question. 8. 4 times 3 equals. So what changed? What changed up there? Well, the second digit changed, and then the result changed, right? What didn't change? The principle. The principle. I mean, this is so simple. When I read it, I was like, that is like really clever. Just so, the principle. It doesn't matter what you put into the principle, it's always going to give you the exact right answer. You put in lack, it's going to give you lack. You put in joy, it's going to give you joy. You put in success, it's going to give you success. You put in love, it's going to give you love. But most of the time, we put in 4 times 2.7, and the 0.7 is some of those things we're thinking that we don't really believe in. What's the answer to that? Quick. It's not as easy, is it? When we put in all the other crap and we add everything. If we just stick with the primary things of love, success, health, vibrancy, passion. See the point? Have I made my point? Have I made Troward's point? Okay. Go to the bottom of 10. Bottom of 10 to the top of 11. He says, for a cosmos to exist at all, it is absolutely necessary that there should be a cosmic mind, binding all individual minds to certain generic unities of actions, and so producing all things as realities and nothing as illusion. And what I love about this part of the book, when he says this, one of the things I did not buy in Course in Miracles is that nothing's real. I had a really hard time with life is but a dream, shaboom, shaboom. I had a really hard time with it's all illusion, nothing's real. Because my logical mind didn't buy that as something concrete. I was like, wait, I'm not good with it. And I studied that for a couple of years. And I really, I mean, if you ever see my Course in Miracles book, it's like written all over and earmarked. And I just could not make sense out of this whole idea that it's all illusion. And basically what Troward's saying is it's all real. Just like this, it's all real. It has to all be real. If it's all God, it's all real. There's no illusion. So what he's saying is, for this whole thing to really work, it has to work across the board. that what you are creating is tangible. And I want it to be tangible. I want to know that if I want love in my life, I want a tangible lover. I don't want a fantasized one or a fake one. I want real, something I can really touch and hold on to. So he then says, matter is thus the necessary polar opposite of spirit, constituting one harmonious whole, which is this the polarity that always attracts. So questions about a lot. Yeah, Craig.
A question and a thought about that, because it seems to me, because that the whole thing is an illusion, is, like you said, it doesn't make sense.
Right.
I can kind of make sense of it, and this is reading Zen stuff about Maya and everything else, but we have a mental equivalent.
Mm-hmm.
To me, this is out of all the sense perceptions I take in. Just keep it simple. Just everything I've gotten from the time I was conceived until I've been here with all the input is all coming in through senses and creating a mental representation of a physical world.
Mm-hmm.
So, in a sense, you could say that physical world is an illusion because it's the mental equivalent that I've created. That there's no.
But then I still wouldn't be able to use the word illusion. I would still have to say it's tangible matter, because cause and effect are two sides of the same coin. You can't take the coin away.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. What's out here is the same as what's in here. In fact, they're intrinsically linked. So I can't say this is illusion, because then I have to go say this is illusion. For me, that really works concretely.
To be continued.
Yeah.
Good.
So, any other questions? So now you get to read the chapter. There's a lot more in the chapter. And this is your homework. So if you can pass this back. Pass that back. Oh, let me take one though. And I'm just going to read these questions to you. So you've got 10 questions here. And what your job is to just answer them, but write out the answer, please. Okay? If you're taking the, pass the whole thing back, guys. If you're taking this for credit, they have to be handed in to me. Otherwise, please bring them back next week. What you have here is a question, and then the exact page and paragraph you're going to find the answer. I'm not leaving room for any mistakes. Okay, so if the question is, what secret are we in search of? It's on page 3, paragraph 1. Okay, so your job is to read the chapter. And I would suggest not doing this, looking for the question and then finding the answer. First, read the chapter, and then go back and answer the questions. These answers do not need to be long. You know, they also shouldn't be like 2-word answers, like finishing a sentence. But it should be your cognitive thoughts. What do you think about this? Why does matter exist? What is necessary for a cosmos to exist? Why do spirit and matter together? What does that constitute? When you answer these questions and you write your answer to it, you're going to come a long way in understanding this stuff. Any questions? A lot simpler than the Beyond Limits homework in one sense. You're not having to do big essays. Yes? Yes, we can email that to you tonight. And this class will be up tomorrow. So if there's something you wanted to go back and look at or listen to again, you can go back and you all get it. She has your emails. Everyone will get sent the link to this class. If you want to hear some of the things you said, there it is. You can go and look at it. Okay?
Again, if you didn't stop and see me before class, that means I don't have your email and I can't get you in the Google Earth that I'm going to create tonight for class.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, let's take a deep breath. And so as we just settle down for 1 second, knowing that we are at the end of this particular class, and all of these ideas and concepts that spark questions and discussions, what I know is that there is this divine intelligence, and it is present everywhere at all times. And it's what I am, it's who I am, it's what each one of us is. And what I know is that this man, Thomas Troward, brought forth a very deep understanding of the way the mind works. And what I know is that there is the capacity in me to not only understand this, but to use it in a very powerful way, to turn whatever I want to turn around and to direct my mind to know only that which serves me, only that which supports me, only that which moves me in the direction that I desire my life to go. I know that for me, I know that for each person here, that we are the very presence of living consciously, on purpose, intentionally, to be, do, have, experience, create, and give all that is ours to do all of that with. And I'm grateful to know this, grateful to be a part of this journey. And I say thank you to every single mind that has been here tonight, in the room, online. And I just step out of the way and allow this all to just unfold perfectly as it always does. And so I just say thank you. I let it be so, as together we all say, and so it is. All right, everyone, have a beautiful night. I will see you